Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I'm Allie Jackson with Centennial Escrow, and I started up these Marketing Mondays right when the pandemic started because we were all trying to figure out how to reinvent ourselves in this new world. And that's exactly why all of you are here today, so I want to acknowledge you for coming because things are changing. And if things weren't changing, then, you know, we wouldn't have fire or the wheel, right? So we have to adapt to change, and so I really appreciate our incredible panel here. I also want to give a quick shout out to some of our friends from Tycor Title. We have Ricky Bright over here, Michelle Dene over there, and Alonzo. So thank you guys so much for coming. In getting this thing together. Of course, they're not sponsors, but they are incredible affiliates. I also want to mention this affiliate team is a wonderful hybrid of a couple groups that I'm involved in. One of them is our Hat Properties team. Many of you know Hat Properties. We meet the first and third Thursday right up at La Papagayo. So this coming Thursday, we are having another pitch session. And it has a Cinco de Mayo theme, so lots of extra raffle prizes. It's a great place to come pitch your listing, so we hope you can join us. And then others of us here, and some of us are on both, are part of the SDAR Carlsbad Caravan, which is now meeting at Miguel's every Wednesday morning at 10. So we hope you can come join us at that as well. We have wonderful breakfast burritos, an incredible group of agents who come on the regular to pitch. And then that is right after the NSDC Realtors pitch, which is at what brewery is it? Virgin Brewery at 9 o'clock. So on Wednesdays you can pitch, tour. So it's a great way to hit both and then have your caravan and get your properties in escrow, which, by the way, is what I do. So I'd love to help you out. I'm with Centennial Escrow right here in Carlsbad. So thank you so much, everyone here, for sponsoring. It does take a village, doesn't it? I also want to acknowledge Tessa Sims, who's going to be our moderator today, and I'd like to invite our incredible panelists to come on up here.
If you wouldn't mind, there's not enough room for me up here on the stage. Mike, would you start us off, tell us a little bit about who you are, and then pass the mic.
Mike Chiesl came out to San Diego in 2003, ended up in the Marines here at Camp Pendleton. Did my 5 years, couple Iraq tours, and after my 5 years said, that's enough, time to do something different. And threw a dart and hit real estate, and did my first year up in Los Angeles, and didn't really know the roller coaster I was getting into. I got into the business in 2007 when everybody was flying out of the business because it was just so difficult, short sales and foreclosures for the younger crowd. You probably don't remember that, Rancho Ted, I know you know that time. But everybody was flying out of the business. It was kind of like a season like this where it was very, very difficult. And I think perspective for me was important because it was like, hey, I can make more money than I did in the Marines and nobody's shooting at us. So it's really not that big a deal. So been doing this now for 17 years, had multiple brokerages, sold multiple brokerages, and now just run a sales team at Bates.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kay Bates. First, let me say I'm so grateful to be here among these amazing brokers, and I want to thank the group that put this on, the sponsors, for having this meeting because we are definitely in times that are changing. I am originally from Trinidad and Tobago. My family moved to the States in 1981, and I moved to California in 85. I decided to get into real estate, not by choice. I'm an accounting major, and so I love accounting, and I got into real estate through accounting. I got my license in 2002, and then I got my broker's license in 2017, opened my own brokerage, and I absolutely love it.
Well, hello, everybody.
Hello.
Want to move that back? It's a little awkward when you're holding it. Okay. My name is Mike Shenkman. I recognize some of you from the class I've taught back. I've been in real estate for about 25 years. Started in the mortgage industry and worked into different managing brokerage roles. I have a property management company. I'm a former broker of record for Keller Williams. I've worked through probably 4 or 5 different shifts in our industry, as many of you have, and also realized that it doesn't go from A to B, it goes every single way. And the biggest thing I think is, because I grew up in real estate. I grew up with a mom who used to bake cookies when she would do open houses, right? To make it smell like we remember those. So we're gonna talk about that a little bit, I'm sure, through this, those changes that we've seen, but I am very happy to be here with everyone. I think that this is, a great opportunity, and I think this is, an opportunity for all of us as a community to really see who's in this industry and who wants to really move forward and say what we can do. So thank you for letting me be here.
Okay, the big question. Just one. One big question for today. Ready? In navigating the conversations with buyers and sellers about compensation, what's an effective strategy for clearly communicating the value of your services while addressing their concerns about costs or fees? Who wants to start us off?
Go ahead, Mike. You see, I look at it, obviously everybody has cost. I mean, I look at this as, the shift that we're having right now. Who remembers the movie American Beauty? Show of hands, anyone? Remember Annette Bening in the beginning of that? What was she doing? She was like, I will sell a house today, I will sell a house today. She had, what was it? I always remember she blew on the fan and she's still saying, I'm gonna sell a house today, right? Fast forward 20 years, what's the image of realtors? Christine Quinn and her, Louis Vuittons going through her chauffeur. This is why my daughter laughs, my daughter's 12. I'm not allowed to watch any of the reality real estate shows at all. I throw stuff at my TV, and I like having a TV. I talk about cost, and I bring it up to them after I brought up, and it's no jokes, how I've always really done it. We bring up every single service that we do. You'll see when we get into the representation agreement, how much of it really has to do with the commission part, how much of it has to do with what the services that we're doing. We're a service-centered industry, are we not? And I think one of the problems we have is we've changed some of that focus. And when I had a conversation this weekend with a client that we brought in, and we were discussing cost with them and discussing different aspects, but it was after all the value was discussed. So that's kind of how I like to at least approach it. And I've had clients who've said to me, I want this much as we want to pay you this much, and I've said thank you, but no thank you, and I have some people I can refer to you if you'd like. I don't have a problem saying this is what my worth and my value is, but also this is what we're doing for you. So I think the first thing is to recognize the value you bring before you bring up cost and value to someone else. So that's just my start point.
So by show of hands, how many of you think we're in a real estate business? Real estate business. Gosh, you guys are so smart. So how many of us are in a relationship business? That's it. For me, how I look at this is, people who, if they know us or they know of us, what they will do, if they like you, they trust you, they will use you, they will work with you. And we have to nourish and flourish those relationships. And it starts with that phone call or a referral phone call. Once we get it, we want to make sure that we are definitely meeting face to face. Gone are the days where I'm talking to somebody on the phone and explaining what Mike just said, explaining my worth. Because everybody has worth. Everybody has something they're bringing to the table. What am I bringing to the table that's going to be different from somebody else? And once I get in front of you, show's over, because then we're able to have a conversation. I want to listen to what your needs are. I have a script I've been working on since this has been coming up on how we can actually explain what our worth is. My whole office, what we did last week, we went through a list, because I also have agents that are just buyer's agent, and we went through, everybody, name what your value propositions are. What are they? So when you get in front of a client, you feel confident. You feel like, hey, I know what I do. I do X, Y, Z. I do from, contract to closing, right? I don't just find you a house. And this is what these things cost. Now, of course, it's going to be uncomfortable because we haven't had to do this. I say continue being educated, educate your clients. Education is elevation. We want to make sure that we are at the forefront. I mean, agents, people look at us like we just made a bunch of money, we have Louis Vuitton this, and we have fancy cars, and we do all this stuff. But we don't really do anything, right? That's why there's iBuyers. But that's a myth. We have to prove to them what our value is. And we have to start now before this goes into effect.
Great answers. Before answering, kind of jumping into fees and commissions, I try to get my mind right on where we need to be. Where's Rick Bright? Rick, I'm going to use you for an analogy. Is that okay? Oh, yeah. He said yes. Okay, so I love storytelling, and I love how storytelling can be used to kind of illuminate a point. So we went to, we go to Daybreak Church. I bounce and forth back between Daybreak and North Coast, and we went on a trip called Anchored Man. And if anybody knows Daybreak or Jason Graves, he's a big rock climber. He's climbed up Half Dome multiple times. Like, he's a crazy guy. He's big body, but he'll climb up like a sheer granite wall. And so he'll take a dozen guys at a time, and we do a trip up to Yosemite and do some like bunny hill climbs. For us, for the non-climbers of the world, it looks like a serious rock. Like, he takes us to the edge of El Capitan, and we got to climb up 100 feet. And it's about as safe as it could be. You're secured by a top rope. You're super safe, but it's scary. It's intimidating. This business, when you start out, is scary. It's intimidating. When you get into the fee conversation, it's scary. It's intimidating. But I was the first to go. Jason's on the ground, and there's like big crack that you wedge your hands into, and you start climbing. And then when you get to the top, which is the hardest part, there's kind of like this big round boulder that's like, looks like a Buddha belly. And there's like nothing to grab onto except for like a couple little holds and a couple little spots. And so I get to the top and I'm like, I'm stuck. I'm at the fee conversation. I'm stuck. What do I do? And Jason starts pointing out spots where to put my feet. Like, hey, use your legs, put your left leg up, put it in the foothold, and then extend with your left leg and grab up to the top right. And he was able to walk me through it, and I was able to get to the top and then come down. It was intimidating. It was scary, but with coaching, I got through it. And at the bottom, I was like, I'm gonna make it to the top. I have no idea how to rock climb. I'm big. This is like not my forte, but like, I'm gonna get to the top. So initially at the bottom, like, I believed in myself that I could do it. When I got almost to the top, I got stuck. I needed some coaching. I needed some mentoring. I needed some help to get me over the hump. Rick steps up there, and he's seen like 2 or 3 guys, and he gets to that top. He climbs up the crack like he's a light. He went up the crack like in like 5 seconds. He was really, really good at it. But then he got to that top third, the Buddha belly, and fear started creeping in. And he's like, do you remember this? Fear started creeping in, and like he didn't know what to do. He's like, oh my God, I'm gonna fall off this rock. You're safe. Like, even if you do fall, they're gonna catch you. Like, it's not a big deal. But you look down, it's 90 feet. You're like, oh my God, I could die. I'm at this Buddha belly. I don't know what to do. And then he just starfished. He just grabbed the rock like this. He just starfished on the rock. He goes, help! And it's like, there's nobody to help you, buddy. You're up there by yourself. It's like, in this business, we're kind of there by ourselves. But we got coaches on the ground, and so Jason, being the great coach that he was, he said, all right, chill out. Don't do the starfish thing. Hugging the rock is not the preferred way to climb. And so he gets them reoriented, and he gets them reset, and he helps them climb to the top. So what I've kind of learned in this business is, like, number one, like, you've got to go into an appointment with your mind right. If you're having a bad day, if you're having an off day, if you don't believe in yourself, maybe you lost a client yesterday or you got beat up, like, you got to like spend some time on your headspace to get your mind right. You have to be in a positive mindset. And for me, it's all, I try to stay away from scripts. I like that as a word because it defines things that we need to say, but I don't like script in general because it takes me out of being my authentic self. In measurement of attraction with people. This is an attraction business. Like, you have to relate, you have to connect with the person sitting across from you. It's the art of conversation. Attraction comes from you being your authentic self. You have to be your authentic self. Like, if I come into an appointment and I'm like, I always wear a jacket my first appointment. If I'm super dressed up and looking fancy and, they're kind of like farmers and wearing like straw hat and like blue jeans, I'm like, I'm gonna spill some coffee on myself. Or I'm gonna make fun of myself and spill it. Like, I look too fancy for who these guys are. Like, I need to try to show them my authentic self. So the art of connection is the most important thing. There's things that you can say that help in the connection with other people. What I like to do though is really stop talking about myself and my sales success and my career and blah, 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 blah. Like, that's boring. I try to talk to, I wanna know as much as I can about them. Why are we here? Like, I'll have a new client, like I had clients this past week, they've got a boatload of real estate that they wanna sell. They've got land, they've got commercial buildings, they got residential buildings. And I'm like, you guys have been doing real estate for 30 years. Like, why am I here? I mean, I think I'm good. I believe in my service. I know I can serve you guys, but why am I here? And they kind of said, wow, that's a really interesting question. I'm like, did you get in a fight with your last realtor? Like, how do you guys not have a realtor? Like, I need to understand this. And they're like, no, we just, we've always bought real estate. We've never really sold it. And
So Mike, that's a great segue to my next question.
okay.
You are a great storyteller.
You have to
You're
tell stories.
fine. That's great for the 30,000-foot view, right?
Yep.
So in the absence of value, what happens? In the absence of value, dollar wins.
Yep.
And that's all they're saying at the 30,000-foot view. You guys already know this. In the absence of value, dollar wins. If we haven't set up, if we haven't reset, if we aren't being coached,
right.
If we aren't mastering the art of connection, which I like that a lot, that's we know we have to focus on that. Tell me, what are the takeaways? Because we've only got a few more minutes left with the group, and I want to be able to open up to questions. How do you articulate the value set? So, okay, great, we get that at the high level.
Yep.
So now, you, Kate, Mike, share with us, okay,
Perfect.
What are the top three,
Yep.
right? If we're going to articulate our value set,
Yep.
right? We don't want to starfish.
Don't starfish.
We won't starfish if we built out our value set, if we have clearly communicated our value, right? We won't get to that point, will we? Okay, so takeaway
Yeah, great.
for us, top three, how do we articulate that value set?
Okay, so number one for me, thank you, perfect segue. Number one for me is I need to know what I'm dealing with. So I ask questions. So back to my previous question, why am I here? Like, why are you guys interviewing me? And even if you think you've got the client, like, sold, like, you're in an interview. Like, this is an ongoing interview. Until you have a listing agreement signed or a buyer contract signed, like, you're in an interview for sure. And they're listening to everything that you say. But I always want to know what I'm dealing with. So I ask them, like, why am I here? What are your expectations of the realtor that you hire? And I don't assume that I've got the job for you guys. Like, what are your expectations? And when I go into my pitch, either it's, marketing, you got to understand if you're dealing with analytical finance brain or engineer brain or like a feeler, and tailor your questions to that. But I try to draw out as much information as I can.
So a good needs analysis.
A needs analysis,
Okay.
and then in my value proposition, maybe they're farmers and they want old school hard work. And I say, I'm going to show my homes by appointment. I'm going to call you every week, and I'm going to call you after every showing. Maybe it's somebody that values marketing. And so then I go into my marketing presentation of I'm spending money here, I'm spending money here, I'm spending money here. I'm not just taking photos and putting it in the MLS. Like, these are the efforts that I'm going to spend on in anticipation of getting offers and selling your house on your behalf. And then I would say the third, if they're just a feeler, I'm just looking to connect, because they're just going to be using their gut. So I'm not.
So you're adjusting your communication styles to meet the needs of the person across the table.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, Mike.
Well, Mike stole my answers.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I mean,
Just pinch them.
yeah,
Just
that
pinch
Mike,
them.
that Mike. It's pretty much the same thing, right? I mirror my clients. I mean, if I go into a room and I am overdressed, if I am wearing a suit, I will definitely be the person taking my jacket off. That's something I would do. If they're speaking at a high pitch, I'm definitely gonna match them because I wanna connect with them. I definitely look them in the eye. I think we have to be clear, concise, and authentic when we show up to people's homes or wherever we meet them at a Starbucks. We definitely have to connect with them. That is one of the major things that we have to do. I am an accountant. I love numbers. So to me, if the person's speaking numbers, if that's all they're into, that is like right up my alley. I want to make sure that I can convey to them, because the first thing they want to know is how much money they're going to make. So That's an easy one for me. But now, if they're not an accountant and they're a marketing person, boy, I tell you, I depend on my team. How can I market this property? Communication is definitely a huge one for me. I communicate, almost every day. If I'm not texting my client, I will call them because people want updates. They get agitated when they don't hear from you for 24 hours. I have a seller right now, I swear this lady texts every 30 minutes. And it's just understanding the needs of each client. What is it that they want? And that's what I'm here to do. Now, of course, if it's something ridiculous that I've never done, I'm probably gonna pass it to somebody else. We don't have to compromise our integrity just to get a sale. That's one thing I won't do. But definitely, I match the client's energy. I make sure that I'm clear, concise, authentic. I show up, I pay attention, and I tell the truth.
Thank you, Kay.
Now, they both have taken my answers. Your starfish story spoke to me because I've actually done that. No joke, I really have. Three things, both for listing and buyers, or buyers and sellers. I think that we're here to kind of understand both sides of it, correct? I think a lot of us are doing our listings, but we're kind of wondering what we're doing with our buyers. And the thing is, it's kind of over the years with me, has kind of evolved in a very similar aspect. Listen, research, adapt, every time. So Darwin, who had said, it's not the, and I'm paraphrasing, it's not the strongest of the species that survives, but those that are most willing and able to adapt. Right now we're in an adaptation period. And when I speak to my buyers, it's about adapting to what they want. Is it a first time? Is it a investment buyer? Is it someone who is, what is it that is their need? Because, what was the founding principle of NAR, and yes, I'm gonna bring up NAR, was, do unto others, right? How do I wanna be treated? How do I want to do this? When do I get afraid? When do I back out of something? I canceled a contract for something I was doing personally just this past weekend because I did not feel comfortable and I felt like there wasn't information being given to me. So this is what we do. We are realtors. We have done the education. We've done this. So when I deal with my buyers, I am definitely staying in contact with them, listening to what their needs are, where they're at. When I have the initial meeting, and yes, fee conversations have come up with my buyers over the last couple weeks. I had a buyer recently ask me, so I have to pay you 6%, right? Yeah. I was like, yeah. I was like, well, you can if you want. And with our sellers especially too. But it really is a matter of, again, listen, research, adapt. I'm big on research. I'm good on understanding what they want, knowing when I don't know the answer to something and saying, let me find that for you. That's one of our biggest issues I see, and I see a lot too, is that they don't know the answer to something and they're afraid to say that. So that's some of the things in interest of time that I look to.
So let's rapid fire this. And you guys formulate your questions because I'm going to start running around asking questions. If you've got them, put your hand in the air. Rapid fire. So what are you saying when you have to address the seller about compensation, and what are you saying when you're addressing a buyer about compensation? What are just some of the experiences you've had recently? How do you address that conversation?
Buy side, I'm going to wait till we're presenting in a little bit because I'll bring that and wrap that in.
Okay.
On the sell side,
okay. Yeah.
Sell side, it really is compensation to me is here's after we've done the value, here's the fee that we charge on this, here is what the service is going to cost, here's where we're at this point. Do I have people come back and say, will you take this cost and this reduction in fee? Yeah. Have I had some that I've reduced it? Yes. Have I had some that I have not reduced it? No. It's like you're saying, read the room, understand the client, and also know your worth and the work that you're going to be putting into it. When I take a listing, I tell them, I am investing in your property for this much time. And I am. I'm putting my cost into it, my time, which is non-renewable, which is a non-infinite thing, and I'm doing this to sell your property, to help market your home, to get as many buyers as possible. So I make sure to impress upon them that I'm investing too, and we're partnered in this. So that's how I approach that.
Thank you, Mike. Okay.
It's funny we had this question. I actually had 2 appointments recently, one with somebody I know, and she told me, I want to wait till July because I don't have to pay a buyer's commission. And I said, oh my gosh, misinformation. I was like, let's set an appointment. Let me come to your house so I can really dive in and explain what the NAR settlement is about, what the lawsuit is about, and how we move forward, because that's just misinformation. So I've said that. I haven't really had the conversation with her. But a week ago, I went to another seller's property, and he as soon as we sat to the table, the first thing that came out of his mouth, I'm not paying a buyer's commission. And I said, well, can we talk first? Like, let's get to know each other. Let me find out a little bit more about you. So he told me all about himself, where he's from, and why he only wants, he came right back to why he's not paying a buyer's broker's commission. And so I went through my value proposition on the things that I do before the sale, before we put the property up, all the things that all of us do. And when I was done, he came back to, I'm open to paying that buyer's broker's commission. However, I'll pay you 1.5 and I'll pay them 1.5. And I said, well, I think we're really far apart. I think what has happened, sellers think that they want to offer 3% less. Buyers are thinking they will offer 3% less. So our conversation starts at 6% apart from the time we sit down with a seller. I got up from that table and I said, you think about that and think about my proposition and then call me. And when he called, he said, I'll offer you 4%. And I said, it just doesn't work for me. So it's about you understanding your value. And the reason I wouldn't take the 4% was just because of the property, because of, the most amount of work I've done was for a discount sale.
Yeah.
That's all you know.
So that's interesting. You even really got into and defined your value set, your value proposition, and they still challenged you on compensation.
I love your answer about investing time, because it's not just about the money that you're going to be spending in marketing. Like, you have a finite resource. The only resource you have is time. And so investing your time, your precious time, taken away from your family and your children or whatever your passions are, is very important to delineate to your clients, because you are going to be working hard for them. Realtors are the hardest working, most misunderstood bunch in the country. They do more for other people for free than any other group of people on the face of the earth. Like, it's an incredible group of people. So I say all the time, we got to get our gusto back. We got to believe in ourselves. Like, we're not just fancy car salesmen. Like, we're half therapists, for God's sakes, that don't charge for our time.
Well, and we're not nonprofit organizations
100%.
either, and I've seen a lot of that conversation right online, which is we're supposed to be there to be of service. Well, yes. Well, who you put the mask on first?
That's right.
I mean, if you're not conscious to help the one next to you,
right,
what good are we?
Right.
Yeah.
And so to your question, like, on the list side, I say, hey, buyer's fees are changing. It's not set. The standard commission is not set. However, I think we should be 5%. We'll take 3 on the list side. We're going to be investing our time and money into the listing, and maybe we do 2 on the buy side. If you want to offer 2.5, I think it's great. I think it's not just about payment to them; it's incentive for an agent to bring you a buyer. I mean, if you look at it, like 80% of buyers out there are still working with agents. So it's not just about paying them for their work. It's also about offering incentive to have them bring their buyer to you as opposed to someone else. So I like to talk about incentives as value proposition as opposed to, and give me incentive too. Like, when I'm at 1.5 and I've spent, $5-6 grand in marketing your listing, and then who knows how many hours I'm going to spend, showing it, negotiating it, all, etc. Like, my dollar per hour is $10 an hour. I'll just go change tires at Discount Tires. So that's a great job. I wish I could have done that.
And they pay more than that.
Yeah, that's right. They make more than that. Yeah. Welcome to California. On the buy side, buyer broker every time. But honestly, like, this is lighting a fire under our butt. Like, buyer agents have historically been absolutely abysmal with talking about their value. And it's like, we need to, like, pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and say, hey, I'm worth it. Like, I'm worth what you're paying me to do.
We didn't have to, Mike.
Yeah.
Today, we didn't have to before.
That's right.
We do now.
We do now.
And the consumers are going to benefit from that
100%.
in a big, big way. How many, and I'm putting you on the spot here, how many of you have updated your presentations? Do you use presentations? Mike, you've updated them. Okay, so 1 out of 3 are using presentations, probably because you have it all up here in the head. And see, and by the way, that's kind of a problem. That's kind of a problem. Not that you have a problem, but for those of us that have it in our head, we aren't catering to the visual requirements that our clients need, because they aren't where we are 17, 20 years of the business, right? So they kind of need something. You updated your presentation, okay?
Yes.
Okay, both seller and buyer, and both. Everybody's updated their presentations. So that would be interesting to see. I'm sure you wouldn't mind sharing that, would you?
Of course.
Yes. Okay, great. Where are we going next? Questions? Yep, wrapping it up. Okay, we've got a question here. News bomb, and then, well, actually hold that news bomb. Question.
Do we know after a close of a sale, will it show what the buyer's agent compensation was in that neighborhood? On the MLS?
We don't, we really can't comment as to any of that right now. And all I can say is just because it's all still tentative.
So you know when you pull your comps,
Yep.
and you show the seller, this seller paid 2.5, this seller paid 2%. And this is the standard, or this is the, going rate in your neighborhood is normally how I brought up the conversation of the compensation for the buyer's agent. And so my question is, it should still be on the close when you go to put your listing unsold, that we should be able to at least put what the seller paid out on compensation. That's question number one.
Yeah.
Question number two is, should we come to the listing with 2 or 3? At the end of the day, it's all about the numbers for the sellers. So come to your listing agreement with 2 net sheets. 1 if you're gonna pay, 2 if you're not, meet in the middle, or just have it as a reference. She's saying no, I would love to get some feedback.
I can answer that one. You want to take the first
Well,
one?
let me answer part of the first one. I mean, as far as, and it's really, we're doing you a disservice, everyone in this room. We try to speculate anything that's going to happen at the end of that, because then everyone's going to walk out and say, oh, they said this, or Mike said this, and we don't know. But I will say this. Right now, we do that. If it's going the way, because this is going to change, and we have a section that talks about concessions that are given in a neighborhood specifically for that reason. So if the seller is paying something out, it should show in there, this was done as a concession. So, but I mean, we'll see what those changes are. I can say, we're just gonna go over, I can tell you that probably the only man right now that's probably up longer than all of us is Saul Klein over at SDMLS, and is going over this like crazy and seeing what is it that we can do. If you're not on his social media, I would get on it right away because he gives a lot of updates.
So great segue right on.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's so weird. I'm used to wireless. Yeah, so if you're not on Saul Klein's social media, I reckon he's going to get like 30 ads out of nowhere, and he's going to know what just happened. Jump on there because he gives those updates. He is the CEO for SDMLX. So, but that's why we really can't answer that, because I've seen more confusion come from that.
Which is a great segue right on over to Kay, because she just talked to Saul. Yeah. So perfect, Mike. Go ahead, Kay, and then we're going to wrap it up, and we're going to jump right into the BRBC. Okay.
Okay. First, I'm going to answer her question on the net sheet. So I just listened. I was in a room with a few brokers who had a mastermind talking about the commission, and the majority of them believe that we should not even discuss a buyer's broker's commission. I definitely opposed it. I think you have to set the right expectations. I wouldn't take 2 net sheets, I would take 1. You can reverse it, you can calculate it, you can do whatever, but just let them know that you're prepared. You came showing them, hey, you know what? We don't know what's gonna happen. You may not wanna pay it. Maybe the buyer's gonna pay it, but this is what it's gonna look like if there's a first-time home buyer, if it's a VA buyer that does not have the ability to pay that commission, this is what you're looking at.
Right. It's interesting.
Very good, yeah.
Interesting thought, though. I mean, maybe it ends up where we're just talking commission. One commission, not the split between listing agent and selling agent. Hey, you're going to pay me a total of 4.5%, and then listing agent's going to, take that and divvy that up to a selling agent. Interesting if we end up there. I do think it's good to talk about, but it'll be really interesting to see how it plays out. And we have no idea what the MLS is going to do. Just don't.
I know one of the pending questions we have right now is, what do we do at open houses?
Yes.
So, okay, what's the latest?
So like Mike here just said, if you're not on Saul Klein's social media, or actually as a broker, reach out to him, have him come to your office. This man is very humble. He will come to you and tell you everything you need to know. The one tidbit he did give me with Section 58 of the NAR settlement is probably the most important thing for all of the realtors in the room. our news break, and so we're all wondering, what happens to the open house? You're holding an open house and buyers walk in. What do we do? Do they sign something? Do they not? There is a form. CAR has already got a form, and it's the Open House Visitors Non-Agency Agreement. On this form has 6 bullet points, and the bottom is for the visitor to sign and the agent to sign. And they can choose. They don't want to work with the agent. They have an agent. They're open to writing an offer. So there are different things. Like I said, education is elevation. We need to be in a space where we're always, always, always learning so that we can educate our clients.
So you're saying you have them fill that form out at the open house? Everybody?
Yeah. Let's be clear, it's a draft. Right now, they're meeting the CAR meetings legislative.
Sorry, the CAR meeting is going on this week up in Sacramento, so let's be very clear, this is a draft form. So every year we get 2 form releases, mid-year, end of year, right? This will probably be included in the mid-year release. So I want to clear that up so no one goes and gets home and pulls up their forms right now and goes looking for it. But this will be given at your open houses. Okay.
Once again, that's great though. We should be tracking who's coming in to our open houses.
Well, that's an excellent point, because for those of us who are a little shy, oh, don't worry, you don't have to sign in. Hello?
Sign in, register.
Sign in, register. We want to know who you are, who's walking in our house,
100%.
and pretty soon we're going to have to, huh?
That's
We're going to
right.
have to really think about that form, how we're using it. Where else? Right here.
Just a quick statement in your opinion. I've been following the lawsuits for a while and felt that buyer compensation was going to get affected. And the settlement dropped quicker than I thought. But the DOJ has jumped back in. And this could change even more. And I just want people to be aware of this. There may not be workarounds when this is all done. So I think people need to plan for what still is potentially to come, maybe not. And if you have any insight on this.
I'll take that just really quick. My insight is the buyer fee is definitely going to change. Tom Ferry was like, hey, I see listing fees actually going up over time. I think personally, if you don't have a listing strategy in your business, you need to get a listing strategy. You need to pick a neighborhood, go door knock. Edward Jones makes their people go door knock, market, farm, find an area that you can make your home and have a listing strategy in your business. I think that's going to be paramount in the coming years.
I just have, a concern about when we are taught to sell real estate, we have to disclose anything and everything we know about a transaction. But when it comes to a closing now in the future, the one thing that can't be disclosed is the commission paid to a buyer agent. How does that even make any sense at all if you're not disclosing that to both other agents and our consumers?
We don't know it. Yeah, I mean, I think there should be full disclosure on all the stuff. It's just, all we're saying is we don't know what those changes are going to be. And if any of us say right now, you're going to have to disclose it, we don't know, it's going to get out that we said that and we were incorrect, possibly. So that's why, but we don't, I agree with you. I think a lot of things should be disclosed. We'll see what happens in the next few months.
Yeah, because it just seems like that doesn't protect us as realtors very well on trying to get paid for what we're really worth.
No, absolutely.
And if you don't disclose that to the public, how can we reinforce our value at all? You know, what I tell clients personally is if it were my own property, I'd put it in the MLS and I would offer 2.5% to keep our value where it's at.
I just have one question. Could you please repeat the name of the guy that is an SDMLS?
He's going to love me for this story. Saul Klein, S-A-U-L-K-L-E-I-N.
Say
Saul Klein, S-A-U-L-K-L-E-I-N.
Saul Klein with SDMLS. Okay.
Better call Saul. Yeah, it's actually his email address is Better Call Saul, or no, Saul Klein at bettercallsaul.com, I believe. So, one more.
Mine's not
Gotta
a
get started.
question, but yesterday I was showing homes and I was putting the client preferred. And after I printed it, I saw the commissions on there. Normally, there's no commission on the client preferred. Agent preferred flyer, but not client preferred. And so it's client preferred 1, 2, and 3 all have commissions, I'm getting paid for my buyer. So I went and looked, and client preferred without 1, 2, and 3 is without the commission. Because I wasn't ready to have that conversation yet till July. So I printed the client preferred, but I didn't know that MLS already made changes. Did anyone know this?
The client preferred showed no, that was a previous change because you remember when 3G3 came into play about 2 years ago, you have to, there were changes that came in where you could show the commission. You gotta keep in mind, there were agents, and we'll get into this in the BRBC here in a second, that they were signing their agreement, locking them in, and then not telling them that if you're the buyer of this property, you're gonna have to pay me as your agent an extra half point, whichever, until they were in escrow. So they had to find some way around that, and you can't release all confidential remarks. You have to find a way. So client preferred should show the commission. That was a change that was made to kind of appease that.
Yeah, but I've been printing it and it wasn't showing it. It was literally yesterday I noticed. So I am still gonna use the client preferred because I'm not ready, but that's not a violation or anything, right?
No, not to show, you can show the commission that's being offered. You can show that all day long. You shouldn't be showing the confidential remarks because of the private information that's in there. That's all.
All good?
Okay. Yeah.
All good?
I'll make it work.
Okay, you guys.
We're gonna have some fun here.
Yeah, we are. You know what? It looks like you guys, this group also runs a private mastermind. If you're interested in this private mastermind where we actually scrub through the 100 ways to show value, learn from each other, see Allie Jackson. Allie Jackson will help you guys get connected. We do keep it somewhat limited so that it's a healthy, productive conversation. But if you're interested in getting in deep on these conversations, let Allie know, okay? All right.
A big thank you to our panel.